I was 15 years old when I left home. People ask me, were you brave? No, the truth is, I didn't feel brave at all. I felt completely trapped. I grew up in a violent home. By the time I was 14, I had reached a breaking point. And one day my mother raised her hands to hit me again. And I grabbed her wrists in the air and I would tell her, "You will never hit me again." And that moment really changed everything. After that, I started planning my escape. My mother knew I had run away before, so she tried to control everything that she could. She would lock away my clothes, make it difficult for me to leave. But I was determined. I had a boyfriend at the time, and through him, I knew a family who lived on military housing in Germany. And their name was Mike and Sandy. And eventually, they would give me a place to land. So I waited carefully. Every 2 weeks, all of my favorite clothes would be in the laundry. And when that day came, I gathered everything I could carry and I left. I thought I had everything, but I actually forgot my tennis shoes. When I bent back for them, I discovered my mother had already put a lock on and changed the locks. Just like that, there was no going back. For the next few days, I kept doing something that surprised a lot of people. I kept going to school. I knew if I disappeared completely, people would come after me. I had already been working with the youth department because my home had been such a hellhole. Dangerous. Teachers knew, social workers knew, people understood I wasn't some rebellious teenager just looking for trouble. I was just trying to survive. A few days later, I was called to the principal's office, and from there, I was sent to the youth department to meet with the people. And I remember sitting in front of a woman who had a file open in front of her. She looked through everything and she handed me a small amount of money that my mother had left behind, 10 marks, and information about housing assistance. Like a handout? At least that's how I looked at it. And then she said something I never expected. As long as I continued going to school, I was free to go. I didn't have to be placed in a home or anything like that. I was free to go. I remember walking out of that office with my life in my own hands. And no one was going to come and rescue me. No one was going to build my future for me. It was definitely up to me how the rest of it all went down. I could have applied for that assistance, but my pride got in the way. I decided to work for my own money. And that decision led me into another chapter of my life. I found a job at what I thought was a youth disco. But what I didn't realize at first that it was connected to a much darker world. You can probably imagine what I'm talking about. I was young, naive, trying to figure out how to survive on my own. And the woman who ran the place saw opportunities for me that I had no interest in. I wanted nothing to do with. I knew very quickly that I needed to protect myself and make my own choices. I worked hard, I saved my money, I hid my savings behind a picture on the wall in my room. And one day I walked in, it was all gone. Everything I had worked for had been stolen. Looking back, that was a moment that could have broken me. Instead, it taught me another lesson. No matter how many times life knocked me down, I was going to have to get back up. So I left. Again. I went back to Mike and Sandy's place and started over again. I lied about my age to get another job. Again. I found a way to keep moving forward. And eventually, at another job, I met the man who would become my husband and the father of my son. And when people look at my life today, they see the businesses, the successes, the failures, the debt, the struggles, and all the things that came later. What they don't see is that the foundation for all of it was built when I was just 15 years old. That was the year that I learned that nobody was coming to save me. Although I think most of my life I was always looking for a savior. That was the year I learned how to survive. And that lesson has followed me for the rest of my life and still does.